I had a flight on a Tuesday, and on Sunday, my cousin and I, we decided to go out in Madrid, and we went out and around on the town, and it was coming back home from that night out that my cousin fell asleep at the wheel, and we were in a car accident on the highway, and I don't remember a thing. I guess it was a pretty bad accident in a sense. There was some flipping of the car. I woke up in the hospital like 6 or 7, maybe 8 hours after the fact. No memory whatsoever of what had happened, and just kind of like the full blow just to absorb in the moment. All I remember is waking up in the hospital and some nurse coming over to me and telling me, "Hey, you've been in a serious car accident."
Yeah.
And you wake up in the ICU, and I hadn't had an experience of being a patient in the ICU, but I had seen an ICU, and I had been working in a hospital before, so I kind of pieced together what was going on even before the nurse came. And I had this bandage on my head that was covering sort of like one eye, and I had kind of like the covers, the bed covers, just coming up to my chest. I couldn't see my body. I couldn't see my legs. I couldn't move my head. I was just kind of like looking around just with my eyes, and morphine just through my body, and feeling just unbelievable pain, like nowhere specific, just kind of everywhere. And there was a big bandage on one of my arms, just kind of like from the elbow to the hand. And this is what I had to look at. This is the first thing that I woke up to. Then the nurse came over, and I asked the nurse, "What happened to my head?" I mean, I know very well that if there's something wrong with your head, then you might not be getting out of here. And so that was the first thing that I asked. And he said, "You got a big cut on your head." Actually, it's this cut. This cut in particular. It's about yay long. It's about 25 centimeters or so.
Haircut. Well, so.
Sorry, what?
We just thought it was your new haircut.
It is my new haircut. I was thinking, this pretty face isn't going to intimidate anybody. I got to have something. Maybe a little tougher, But yeah. So he said, "There's nothing happened aside from you have a big cut, and we're doing some scans on your brain to see if everything's good, but so far everything's fine." Mm-hmm. So I said, "Well, what about my legs? Do I have them?" I couldn't feel them. I couldn't see them. He said, "Yeah, you have your legs." I said, "Okay."
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you have to ask if you have your legs.
Yeah.
I never thought I would experience that.
Yeah.
And he said, "You have your legs. There's nothing wrong with them. You've been banged up, bruised up." I mean, in comparison, nothing happened. I did get cuts on my legs, obviously, which later on had implications in my training. But at the time, if we're talking about a life or death situation, like from something like that, nothing. I mean, nothing happened to my head. Nothing happened to my legs. He says, you have some serious injuries to your right hand. And in that moment, after him telling me that my head was okay, that I had my legs, I said, "Okay, am I going to lose it?" He says, "I don't know." And in that moment, I was convinced I was going to lose it, and I accepted it fully. And I thought, take it if you have to. Like, really, take it. And there's nothing to prepare you for a moment like that. Nothing at all. And, I mean, everyone wants to react a certain way, but you don't know how you're going to react. And yeah, that's just how I reacted, I guess. It had its implications in the long term, the way I reacted. But I guess I feel pretty proud, at least, to have reacted, solidly, facing a moment like that of adversity. But in any case, it was a long recovery period. I visited several hospitals. The first hospital, they said that they weren't convinced they'd be able to do the best job restructuring my hand and kind of like fixing my hand up. And when doctors say that to you, I mean, it doesn't give you the most confidence. And so I went out to look for someone else. Well, it wasn't me, it was my parents, it was my team.
Well, I could tell you when I first received the news, it was like, he might lose his hand. It was pretty scary.
Yeah, I mean, hey, so just so you can get an idea, this is how my hand looks now. I can't open my 3 fingers. So my 3 little fingers, I can't open them, not even passively. This is the full range of motion I have in my fingers. I can open and close my hand. I have these 2. They work just fine, which is amazing because we often have this pincer.
Yeah.
And I actually had it saved. This is a skin graft from here to here. And it comes from, let's see if I can show you guys.
Yeah, you can see it.
I know, yeah.
This right here, this rectangle here was copied and pasted up my hand, and what was here was gone. And so what this skin here actually comes from this skin here. So there's some restructuring of the skin. It was like a 6 or 7 or 8 hour surgery.
Wow.
The best hand surgeon in the world that year, at least, and was the guy who did it. And he's a good friend of mine now. Him and his team, actually, genius doctors. Like, that's all I'm gonna say. Genius doctors. When everyone else was like, well, we can maybe save like 2 of your fingers, and I would have had like 3 fingers amputated. This guy, he was just like, I can save your hand.
Well, how did you feel afterwards when you went from being in a state where you opened your eyes, you're in the ICU, you found yourself not knowing if you had any limbs at all, and then the doctors not even know if they were going to work, and then, I mean, having such an incredible attitude, it's seriously brave to just be able to accept even if your legs didn't even work. But now, from knowing that everything works, and how did you feel? Did you feel even more thankful from coming out with only, a couple fingers and not being able to operate properly? Like, how is that from thinking your legs were gone to now having a reconstructed hand?
Well, the difference is stark, and it's quite drastic. It was a slow process, really slow. And at first, I didn't know how my hand was going to be. And it took many months, actually. It was 6 months that I was in and out of the hospital. Initially, it was about a month, I'd say, that I was in the hospital. Yeah, and 6 months until I was completely done with the surgeries. But I didn't know. I didn't know if the skin graft was gonna stick. I mean, when I say I didn't know, the doctors weren't 100% convinced if the skin graft was gonna stick. And there was one problem that I faced, which was an infection. I had a bacteria that was pretty aggressive and didn't react well to certain antibiotics that they were giving me. And so I took it, to this day, I consider that my life was saved, yes, by the hand surgeons. Like, my life, not my heart beating, the life that when I look in the mirror, that's like who I see, that sort of thing. But my life, like my heart beating, was the doctor, the internal medicine doctor, who gave me the antibiotics and was really on top of things. And it lasted like several weeks. It didn't look great. I mean, I don't know exactly what happened because I don't remember. Even to this day, I don't remember what happened in the accident itself. But from what I pieced together, and from what I've been, just from what I pieced together, seems like as the car rolled, the window shattered, and my a limp hand just kind of went over and touched the window around the time when the car was on its side. And so where the window was, there was the ground, the highway asphalt, and it rubbed against it maybe for a split second, and then that's all it took, right?
Wow.
So it was like covered in whatever's on the asphalt.
Uh,
Oh.